Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. Welcome back to our discussions and our journey throughout the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this cosmos. And last week we have covered the 2 days of creation, and the figure that you can see right on your screen right now, this is the, what you call it, the graph. This represents in a nutshell what the 2 days of creation is all about, right? We have the separation between the first day and the second day, according to my research, and I might be wrong, of course, right? The separation between the first day and 2 days is the inflation period in which the cosmos or the early universe expanded so fast in such a very short time, in less than the blink of an eye. So what happened before that, that tremendous expansion that constitute the first day, where the early particles, the early materials that will build up the subatomic particles, right? They were created during that first day, this part here. And then the second day is after the inflation stops, right? The inflation stopped, and then the universe expanded in its normal expansion rate until now, right? The universe is now still expanding at its normal expansion rate. Now it ties down with what you call it as the creation of all the 7 heavens, right, during the 2 days of creation. And according to the modern scientific theories, specifically about the multiverse theory, that multiple universes were created, right, during the inflation period. So the inflation period expanded the initial universe. Then after that, some of the space in the initial universe, the first universe, stopped expanding, and so expanded in normal rate, and we have our current universe. And then there was this another expansion of space, right? Some region, right, experienced expansion of space, so they created another bubble of universe that encompasses the first universe, and then it slows down. Then after that, there is another area, right, that experience another expansion of the universe, right? So therefore, it creates another third bubble of universe. So we have bubbles upon bubbles upon bubbles of universe. And we believe that there are only 7 bubbles of universe, right, that encompasses our universe. So our universe is the smallest universe. Then there are bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger universe, all right up to the 7th universe. And the 7th universe is the largest, and it actually enclosed all the 6 other universes. Ours is the smallest. Okay, so that is in a nutshell our discussion last week. Now we move on, right, to the 7 heavens itself. Now, what are the 7 heavens? Like I shared with you just now, it had to do the 7th creation of 7 heavens, right? Has to do with the creation of the heavens, our initial heaven, in 2 days. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Fussilat. We have covered that. But are they really 7 universes? And what are these 7 universes or 7 heavens? Now, there are different opinions on the number of 7. Okay, Maurice Bushel, right, the French surgeon who wrote that famous book, the Bible, the Quran, and the modern science and the Bible and the Holy Quran, something like that. For him, right, according to his opinion, that actually the number 7 does not denote the amount 7. It means that there are no 7, exactly 7 universes. The number 7 for him is actually a term used for something that is plenty. Just like English, we use thousands. How many thousand? No, I don't care how many thousands, but thousands, millions, tens of thousands. It might be hundreds of thousands, but people use tens of thousands, right? So to denote that it is plentiful. Now, the Arabs also had that notion. They use certain numbers to show that the amount is plenty. How many? We do not care. We can count, but we don't care, but it is a lot, right? So the Arabs, they use the number 70, not 7, but 70. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Haqqah that those who will reside in hell, Allah will command the angels to tie all these residents of hell with 70 yards of chain, metal chain from hell. خذوه فغلوه ثم الجحيم صلوه ثم في سلسلة ذرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه. Take them, Allah SWT will command the angels, take them and drag them to hell and tie them down with 70 lengths of 70 yards, something like that, of chain. Now, that number 70, right, almost all scholars of Tafsir agree that it does not denote 70 yards of chain, because if it is 70 yards of metal chain, that is greater than what is needed to surround our body, to tie our body, right, human body. But it denotes its long length. Right? How long, he doesn't care, because number 70 denotes something that is huge. But there is nothing in Arabic language that use number 7, right, to denote something that is a lot, plentiful. Never happened. Allah SWT used number 7 for 7 days in a week. It doesn't mean that there are more than 7 days in a week. It doesn't mean that there are so many days in a week. No, it's exactly 7. You can count them, it's 7. So 7 in Arabic language is exactly a numerical value. It is not being used to denote something that's plentiful, much like other numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10, and so forth, right? So Maurice Bushell's opinion is not based on Arabic language. It is just his opinion. He has no justification for his opinion. He just said, my opinion is that number 7 denotes plentiful. So there are many universes, right? And for him, that universes is not the multiverse, because he was not acquainted with the theory of multiverse. It was not, during his time, it was not popular, even though it was already there, right? The idea was already there, but he was not acquainted with that radical idea, radical theory during that time in early 1970s, when late 1970s, when he wrote the book. So, and furthermore, he was not an astrophysicist, right? He was a medical surgeon. So for him, it's plentiful of heavens, and for him, the heavens denotes the planets. So for him, there are many planets, uncountable planets, which actually is quite true if you look at the current theory, because we are continuously discovering new planets. There are now numbering more than 5,000 planets being found by astronomers, and all these planets circling stars further from us, right? Some the nearest star that contain planet is about 20 light years away. That is the nearest, 20 plus light years away. And there is what you call it, some suspicion that the nearest star for us, which is the Alpha Centauri and Beta Centauri, Alpha Centauri A and Alpha Centauri B, there are 3 stars, right, rotating each other. There is suspicion that there are planets around it, but it has not been proven yet, right? It's just speculation from some observation. So not yet any proof, real concrete proof that there are planets. But anyway, there are plentiful of planets, right? As much as there are stars, astronomers suspect that there are also that much planets. So that might be, right, planets that are okay for us to go, but we will discover later on in the next chapter that is going to be something that is very rare, exceedingly rare to find a planet similar to Earth. We will discuss that later. Okay, so that is Maurice Bushell's idea that number 7, there are actually not 7 heavens, but plentiful of heavens. But his idea is not based on academic studies. It's not based on what you call it, Arabic language. Whereas if you want to interpret Al-Quran, you must have a good grasp of Arabic language, with all its syntax, with all its complex meaning and so forth. Then we can appreciate the language that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has created and has perfected to our standard, right, to carry his final message. And that is Arabic language. Now, Harun Yahya right? We all know who is Harun Yahya. It's just a pen name. The real name of the author is Adnan Oktar, and actually he did not write all those books that has the title as the name of the author as Harun Yahya, because it's a pen name, right? He used Harun Yahya for books that either he wrote or he co-wrote with others, or somebody wrote on his behalf. And Adnan Oktar is a very controversial figure, and right now he's in jail because of some criminal acts that he was accused to commit. A very famous person, right? A very famous book. According to him, the seven heavens, right, are not all those heavens, but it's actually the seven layers of atmosphere, and he counted them. There are exosphere. No, we start with the lowest, right, to the ground. Our, what do you call it, atmosphere that we can breathe, right, up to what do you call it, the age where aeroplane can fly, right? That is called troposphere. So every human activity can be contained inside the troposphere. The Everest mountain is still inside the troposphere. It can reach about to 10 to 11 kilometers high. That is troposphere. Then beyond that is stratosphere, where the air is very thin, right? Hardly there's no oxygen over there. Then after that, beyond that is ozone layer, then mesosphere, then thermosphere, then ionosphere, and the last is exosphere. And according to him, these are the seven layers of heaven, which is very, very wrong. Why is it wrong? Because number one, there are more than seven layers of atmosphere, right? He conducively, selectively selected number seven, whereas in between all these so-called layers within mesosphere and thermosphere, there are other smaller layers. And thermosphere and ionosphere, there are smaller layers. And there is no clean break. There's no such thing as, oh, this is troposphere, then suddenly after that, there's stratosphere. No. Some of the troposphere will merge into the stratosphere. Some of the stratosphere will bleed into the troposphere. So there's a very gray area between the two layers, and there are some other other layers there, right? That does not concern the air itself, but it concerns the molecules and so forth. So it's a very complex atmosphere. You cannot conducively easily, right, break up our atmosphere into seven, much like we cannot break up our earth interior into seven layers. No, there's no such thing. We actually do not really know what is inside our earth, right? We can only guess, right? And right now there are about just 5 main layers, major layers, and there are more than 10 minor layers inside the earth. So if you look at the outermost layer, the exosphere, this is actually not inside our atmosphere. Exosphere is the region of space. It's actually space that extends all the way beyond moon. So you mean to say that it's part of our Earth atmosphere? Of course it's not, right? So exosphere is not part of our atmosphere. But scientists say it is part of the Earth because it protects the Earth. But there's no hardly any molecules of air in exosphere. So from scientific point of view, right, the idea of Harun Yahya is certainly wrong. From the Islamic point of view, it is also wrong because it contradicts the hadith of Isra Mi'raj. We have just celebrated the night of Isra Mi'raj, where Rasulullah SAW ascended to the seven heavens, and every layer of heaven are angels guarding them, right? So there's people cannot, even Malaikat Jibril, Rasulullah SAW must seek permission before moving to another layer. And beyond the seventh layer, then after that is Arash of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if let's say the 7 layers of atmosphere are the 7 heavens, then we are greater than Rasulullah SAW. We can just pass our atmosphere without any angels stopping us. We can even go beyond the exosphere, but there are no Arash of Allah. So certainly that is wrong. Right? Certainly from the Islamic point of view, the idea of Maurice Bushel and Harun Yahya are wrong. Now, Dr. Dawood Salman As-Sa'di, one of the writers of this, he was a writer of a book that was that got the first prize actually in one of the Abu Dhabi's book fair, something like that, forgot back in early 2000, 2003, 2004, something like that, because he wrote that book. And in that book, he proposed the idea that the seven heavens are actually the seven planets. And he gave all these reasons, right? Now, the idea of seven planets for the seven heavens is actually doesn't differ much from the Aristotle and the Greek idea of what those seven heavens are. I shared with you before, right? According to the Greeks, the seven heavens are actually, the first layer is the moon, then the second layer is planet Mercury, and then the third layer is planet Venus, and then the fourth layer is the fourth layer is the sun. Then after that, Mars, and then Jupiter, and then the seventh is Saturn. And Uranus, Neptune, they can't see because it is so further away, we cannot see through our naked eyes. We only know the existence of Uranus, Neptune from telescopes. Now, the seven planets, right? Dawud Salman Sa'di said that the seven heavens are the seven planets. Now, if let's say that is correct, the seven heavens are the seven planets. If we go back to the hadith of Isra Miraj, then beyond the seven heavens is the Arash of Allah. Now, what is beyond Neptune? We have a lot of things. We have planet Pluto or subplanet Pluto, and then we have the Kuiper belt, and then we have the asteroid belt, we have the Oort cloud, and then we have all of the stars beyond that. Do you mean to say that all these things are in Arash of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Certainly not. If the seven heavens end with planet Neptune, then Allah's creation is indeed very, very small. Right? And then where is Earth? You want to say that the first planet, the first heaven is Mercury? Why? Mercury is closer to the sun than us, right? If you look at up there, right, we can see the moon first, and then Venus, or Venus, because Venus is closer to us than Mercury. But sometimes Mercury comes first, and then after that Venus, because the rotation of these two planets sometimes, right, overlap each other. So we can see sometimes Mercury in front of us and Venus behind if it's on the opposite side of the sun. But sometimes Mercury is on the other side and then Venus on the other side of the sun. Then we can see Mercury is closer to us than Venus. So it always interchange between these two planets. So which one is the first planet? So again, this idea is certainly very, very wrong, right? Sa'di said that his basis, right, for considering that the seven heavens are the seven planets, he said because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word tibaqa. Alam tara anna Allah khalaqa sab'a samawati tibaqa. Have you not seen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the seven heavens tibaqa? Now the word tibaqa has two meanings. One is meaning one on top of the other. Second, tibaqa means one is similar to the other. Right? Tabaq means something that is similar. And tabaq also can mean in layers. And that is why some people say, I don't know whether it's true or not, people say that, this our favorite food, murtabak, right? Murtabak actually is from the Arabic word of mutabbaq. And of course, if you go to the Middle East, there are some bread that they call it as mutabbaq, right? But it's not the mutabak that we have right now with all the meats or chickens or whatever inside there. It's different. Now, that mutabbaq is actually done just like a mutabak, which is what one big dough spread, and then after that you put here and put there, you close it and close it. So you have layers. You have at least 4 layers of it. So the Arabic word said is mutabbaq, means you put one layer after the other and then another layer. So it's called mutabbaq. And some people say that, well, it might be that the word mutabak that we have right now, martabak, comes from the Arabic word of mutabbaq. So tabak means layer. Tabak also means similar. Yutabiqu ba'dahu ba'da means it's very similar one to another. So according to Sa'di, because of that, right, you look at, for him, said, look at all the seven planets, they are similar to each other, right? And that is why they are the seven heavens. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word tibaqa, means similar, so all these planets, seven planets are similar. Which is also very wrong, because right? If you look at the 7 planets, there are 2 planets that are rocky. We call it rocky planets, Mercury and Venus, right? Basically hard rock planets with only thin atmosphere. Mercury has no atmosphere at all. And also Mars also is a rocky planet, 3 rocky planets. Then you have all the 4, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. They are gas giants, huge planets with very small rocky interior, which we do not know. We can speculate, might be there are some rocky interior, or there might be no rocky interior at all, just like the sun. So it just consists of just gas, and inside is liquefied hydrogen or liquefied helium, because the pressure is so high that it liquefies these 2 gases. It might be that. We do not know what's in here, but what we know is that they are gas giants. So they are not similar to each other at all. Between Mars and Venus, very different. Even though they are 2 rocky planets, Mars is very much smaller than Venus. Right? Mars has very thin atmosphere. Venus has very thick atmosphere. Like just like us, Earth, we have thick atmosphere. Mercury has no atmosphere at all. Okay, and then we look at Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Right? Saturn is not similar to Uranus and Neptune. Saturn has its own rings. Jupiter does not have any ring. Uranus and Neptune, they are very small rings, but the rings are broken up. Right? We can't see. Only people know the existence of rings when people send the spacecraft over there and witness very close that when they pass by the planets, then you can see the rings. And Uranus and Neptune are very, very different. Right? Uranus is very bland, very boring planet, right? Neptune is quite active, right? Uranus is a planet that is lopsided. Instead of rotating this way, it's rotating this way. You have a sun, instead of rotating this way, just like Earth, it is rotating this way. So the North Pole is always facing the sun. It's very, very hot. And the South Pole is always facing the right side, and it's very, very cold. That is Uranus. And Neptune, we have, surface of Neptune, they have, what do you call it, gas that moves at a very, very high speed, higher speed than Jupiter and Saturn. So they are not similar. All these 7 planets, including Earth, 8 planets, right? And if you want to include Pluto, all of them are different. They are the children of the sun, just like our children. Every single of our children are different from each other in their characteristics, in their manner, in their physical bodies, right? Unless if they are twins, of course. But they are different. So the children of the sun, all these 8 planets or 9 planets, they are different, totally different from each other. So the idea of study is, of course, wrong. So these 3 ideas that I brought in this book, just to highlight that humans have attempted to understand what are the 7 heavens are, right? From the earliest time, right? The, what do you call it? The early traditional scholars who took it from the Greeks, right? And the idea of the Greeks somehow or rather got intertwined into our Islamic tradition. And in the tafsir, books of tafsir, that the 7 heavens are what the Greeks say, the 7 layers of celestial objects that you can see. So much so that until now, recently I met this so-called local stars, right? Quite, I mean, of advanced age. He still hold on to the idea of the Greeks. And he said, look at the 7 heavens, the 4th heavens is the sun. And I said, okay, but I don't want to contradict because he's already of the advanced age, no need to correct him. Right? But that is a very good example that there are people who still hold on to the traditional Greek idea without knowing that it's not Islamic at all. Without knowing that it is based on the Greek philosophy and the Greek religion. It's actually Greek religion, because the Greek believed in the domain of the stars. So the 8th layer is the domain of the stars, and they are the domain of the gods, and that's why they worship the stars. So inadvertently, we are, or these people, they are following the belief or the non-believers, right? So what are the 7 heavens? We have to move away from planets, atmospheres, right? Or just plentiful number 7. Right? We have to have a start fresh. We have to start afresh on what is 7 heavens, because it ties down with the creation of the initial heaven. The first heaven, Dukhan, which is of gaseous state, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala broke it up into 7 heavens. So this is what I'm going to share with you, okay? Now, the origin of the 7 heavens. We go back to the Quran. Disregard all those hadiths and all those stories of the Greeks and whatever. Go back to the Quran. Analyze the Quran. Now, we go back to the origin of the 7 heavens itself. What is the origin of the 7 heavens? Not mentioned explicitly in the Quran. It's mentioned in the Quran, but indirectly. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word dukhan, which is a gaseous state. Now, we can also derive it through analyzing the grammatical position of the word sab'a, 7, right, in these 2 verses. You see, when we go back to the Quran, it's not just look at the translation, but we have to go back to the original Arabic text and we have to apply the Arabic language to it and try to understand, right, the position of those words from the grammatical point of view. Then we can actually extract more information from the verse itself. Now, you look at these 2 verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, Thumastawa ila samai. Thumastawa ila sama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what is this? وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ وَالَّذِي خَلَقَ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I forget the Arabic word, but it means here then he turned to the heaven, okay, and made them into 7 heavens. He turned to the heaven, and Allah used the, what do you call it, the singular form here, sama, which is 1 heaven, and then made them into 7 heavens. So for 1 heaven, and then after that it broke up into 7. That is in Surah Baqarah. Then in Surah Fussilat, Allah SWT says, so he decreed them as 7 heavens in 2 days. He decreed them. Now, them refers to what? Them here refers to the original heavens. Original heavens. And then after that, Allah SWT caused all these heavens to 7 in just 2 days. Now we have these 2 verses. One, Allah SWT, the first in Surah Baqarah, Allah used the singular form, which is heaven. And then after that, Allah SWT said, then Allah make it to 7. Now in Surah Fussilat, Allah SWT said, no, there are many heavens in the first place. Right? Creation started with many, many heavens. That's why Allah SWT used the plural form of them. How many? Allah SWT did not or does not mention it in Surah Fussilat. But then Allah SWT says, from all this multitude of heavens, Allah SWT decreed them to be 7. So, what is this 7 in these 2 verses? It's grammatical position, or in Arabic it's called i'rab. Okay, i'rab, it is a very, what do you call it, it's just like any other language, right? When we say, when we look at the sentence, whether this is a verb, this is an object, this is a subject, this is a, what do you call it, preposition, or this is what. So just like in Arabic language, right? If you look at the sentence, then we try to analyze now. This word is what in this sentence? Is it what? A subject, an object, or what do you call it, a proposition, or a context, or whatever, right? So there are many forms of it lah. People who studied Arabic language, they will see that, wow, there's so many position of words in grammatical positions of words. So we have to analyze it, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down, right, Al-Quran in Arabic language, in the highest form of Arabic language, that caused even the greatest poet during the time of Rasulullah SAW, right? All these non-believers, they are great poets, but when they heard the Quran, they were amazed. They could not even imitate the Quran. They were so mesmerized with the words of the Quran, because they can really analyze the position of the words in the Quran itself and how Allah SWT used the word, and it flows. Right? One great poet, non-believer, he said that the Quran is like a flowing river, very smooth, very cool, and that river passes under shady trees. So he actually described it. And he's a poet, of course. He doesn't say, oh, it's a wonderful book. No, he described it in terms of similitude. Right? It is like that garden, beautiful garden with rivers flowing under it smoothly, and with gardens guarding it. It's so nice. When people enter the Quran, people do not want to get out of the Quran. People will still want to continue listen to the Quran, because people imagine for him that it is like we are in the beautiful garden. That is the one of the great poets of the Jahiliyyah. He died as a non-believer, mind you, and he acknowledged that nobody, no humans, no jinns, even if human and jinns come together, can they come out with such beautiful words and beautiful verses and proses. That was his admission, right? So people have to analyze, right? It's not just taking the meaning and then, oh, this meaning is like that. No. Right? Meaning of the Quran, the translation of the Quran is a very rough guide of the real meaning of the Quran. The real meaning of the Quran, nobody knows, because only Allah knows. We can analyze the Quran. It's just like peeling the onion, right? One layer after the other. We thought that, oh, that is actually the meaning. And that is what is actually, you actually see the onion itself. You haven't peeled it yet. You can touch, right? Well, it's big, it's huge, it's color red, and that's it. But what's inside it? You do not know. You have to peel it. And that's where peeling comes in. The peeling of the Quranic meaning comes from analyzing, right, the Arabic language itself that's been used by Allah SWT in that particular verse. Then the meaning will become richer. The meaning will become deeper than the superficial meaning that we read. So that's what I attempted, right? I tried to analyze the word seven, right, in these two particular verses, because they are very, very important. Now we are going to something that is very, what do you call it, deep in Arabic language. I hope you can bear with me, or you just listen in, right? How deep that language is, this Arabic language. Now, the word seven here, both of that, right? According to scholars, not from me, right? Because I read up and I did my research, right? According to scholars of Arabic language, past scholars, they are the masters of Arabic language, and they say that this word seven can have 5 grammatical positions. Mind you, not one, but 5 grammatical positions. MashaAllah. Those who studied Arabic language, they can understand this thing. It can be badal, it can be maf'ul bihi, it can be maf'ul bihi thani, it can be hal, it can be tamyiz. 5 grammatical positions. Now, what is badal? Badal in Arabic language, in English language, is called a position. What is a position? You can look it up lah, right? That's what I found out. Badal in English language is called a position. Maf'ul bihi is called an object. It's very simple. We have subject, we have object, we have verb, right? So maf'ul bihi is an object. Now, maf'ul bihi thani is a second object. There are 2 objects, just like what, you know, 2 objects, one after the other. An example will be in Arabic language, what do you call it? Let me think. Well, it doesn't occur to my mind right now. An example for it, right? But it's a second object. For example, okay. Well, there's a different. I mean, it's okay. So and then number 4 is hal. Hal means circumstantial expression. Okay. And number 5, tamyiz, means specification. Right? Now, the word 7, which is sab'a, can be any of these 5. Right? It depends on how you look at it. It can be all 5. It can be any one of the 5. Now, if you want to take all 5, you combine it together, then you have a richer meaning. If you take just one, it just describes one part of the meaning of that verse itself. Now, let's just look Let's just go through one by one. Okay. Now, if it is badal, the word 7 is badal, the connotation, the meaning is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens. There were many heavens, a multitude of heavens, number unknown. And then immediately after Allah created all these 7 heavens, they were created instantaneously. Then immediately after that, Allah reduced it to 7. So what happened to the rest? Gone. So if you want to look it from the scientific point of view, right, there are so many heavens. Then all other heavens collapse, right? It collapses on its own gravitational pull, except 7 which continue to expand. So that is if you want to look it from the scientific point of view, all right? Okay, then after that, right, if you look at, so if it is badal, then its origin is not mentioned at all, because we do not know, it's unknown. How many heavens, initial heavens, we do not know. Now, if it is a maf'ul bihi, which is an object, like for example, I drink water, then water is the object, right? It's maf'ul bihi. It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the 7 heavens. Allah created the 7 heavens from some primordial heavens, right? It means that there is an origin. And that is basically in Surah Fussilat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the 7 heavens from Dukhan. Dukhan, right, is the original one, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the 7 heavens. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I created the 7 heavens. Finish, full stop. So 7 heavens are the, what do you call it, the maf'ul bihi, an object. And therefore we have an origin, which is the primordial heaven. So it has some, what do you mean, similarities with the first one, if we take the word 7 as badal, which is a position. Now, if it is a maf'ul bihi thani, which I'm still trying to think of an example. Yeah, okay, let's say for example, right? Now, Ali gave Zaid a book, right? Ali gave Zaid a book. Now, Ali is the subject, give is the verb, right? Zaid is the object, he received the book. And then the book, from the Islamic, from the Arabic point of view, is called maf'ul bihi thani, which is the second object. So we say that A'ta Aliyun Zaidan kitaban. So Ali gave Zaid kitab. So the word Zaidan must be in mansub form, and kitaban must mansub form, because kitab is considered as maf'ul bihi thani. Now, if it is a maf'ul bihi thani, so sab'a is maf'ul bihi thani, so the connotation is still the same as maf'ul bihi number 2, which is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed the heavens as 7 heavens. Whereas number 2 means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created 7 heavens, finish. Right? Allahu alladhi khalaqa sab'a samawat. Allah created the 7 heavens. But it has a origin, and that origin is being mentioned in Surah Fussilat, which is Surah Dukhan. But if we say Allahu alladhi khalaqa samawati, Allahu alladhi khalaqa sab'a samawat, and sab'a samawat is the maf'ul bihi thani, second object, it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually, the verse itself, right, hides the maf'ul bihi, which is the object. It means that Allah created the heavens, 7 heavens. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed or created the heavens as 7 heavens. So it might be that it all started with 7 heavens and continue 7 heavens, or there are more than 7 heavens and then it becomes 7, or they just 1 or 2 heavens, or even 1 heaven, and then after that expanded into 7 heavens. So again, if it is from the third, what do you call it, position, grammatical position, or i'rab, it means that the 7 heavens has its origin, and that origin is the first maf'ul bihi, the first object. Now, if it is hal, it is called circumstantial expression. The connotation is that Allah decreed the heavens and they were in the state of 7 heavens, right? So Allah SWT decreed the heavens. What is it? We do not know, right? The initial heavens, because we do know there are initial heavens, but what are they? How many? We do not know. And suddenly there were 7 heavens. So that is, if we apply it in Surah Fussilat. So if you look at number 4, then origin not mentioned because suddenly there are 7 heavens, just like the position of Badal in number 1. Now, if it is number 5, it is tamyiz, which is specification, then the connotation is that Allah decreed an unknown entity. We do not know what is there. It can be a primordial heaven, it can be something else, but Allah SWT decreed it to become 7. So suddenly there are 7 heavens. So it has origin, and that origin is what? An unknown entity. So looking at all 5, right? 2 of them, Badal and Hal, if you take it, then we say that, well, from this point of view, then Allah SWT does not mention the origin of the universe. But if you look at number 2, 3, and number 5, right, the I'rab, then we say that the heavens, right, has all the 7 heavens, they have the origin. And what is the origin? Allah SWT mentions in Surah Dukhan, Surah Fussilat, that is a state of Dukhan, which is gaseous state, something smoky state, something like that. Okay. Now, let us explore the primordial heavens. Because if you look at all these 5, whether you want to take the position of Badal or not, but if you take all of them, then it still means that the heavens, right, all the 7 heavens, they have origin. Right? Whether that origin is being mentioned in the 2 verses or not, it just basically from grammatical point of view, but it has its origin, whether being referred to or not being referred to. If it is Badal and Hal, it's not being referred to, but if it's Maf'ul Bihi or it is Tamyiz, then it is being referred to. Now, that primordial heaven, that the early heaven or heavens, that's why I put a bracket there because we do not know whether it is heaven or heavens, it is actually the state of Dukhan, gaseous state, right? And this stage was the heavens where Dukhan-like, right? Stage where the heavens were Dukhan-like actually depends on the article fa that is attached to the verbs in the following 2 verses. This is the verse, sorry, I forgot it. ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَسَوَّاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ. Just now, we discussed the position of Sab'ah, right? The grammatical position of Sab'ah here, and also in Surah Fussilat, فَقَضَاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ, we discussed the position of the Sab'ah here, which is 7, right? And it can be 5, it can be Hal, Tamyiz, Maf'ul Bihi, or it can also be Badal. Now, we're going to analyze this article Fa. See, don't discount any letters in the Quran. Right? It can carry a lot of meaning, actually, deeper meaning than that. So this fa here is actually what? Fasawwahunna and faqadahunna. Because once we analyze this thing and we understand the grammatical position, the era of the word sabah, then we can have a deeper meaning of what or how the 7 heavens originally come from. We do not have to have that understanding of modern physics to understand it. Just by analyzing the Quran itself, we have some ideas. And then when we look at these scientific theories, it completes that picture. Subhanallah, right? Because there's no contradiction at all. So what is the position of fa? That is what we're going to explore next week, inshallah. Right? I'm going to proceed more than this because I think it's quite heavy enough, right? We have discussed on the grammatical position of Sab'ah itself, right? But if you go further than fa, that's going to be confusing. So I'm going to stop here. So next week, we're going to analyze this letter fa, right? Just the letter fa itself, okay? And we can see how deep the Quran is, inshallah. Okay, so let's stop here and let's see whether there are what do you call it, questions in the chat box. Oh yeah, there are 2. Okay. All right. Someone sent it to me. It's a direct message. Thank you very much for this person who give me an example of maf'ul bihi that I'm going to share with you. And this person, right, she said that the example will be, I gave Ahmad a ball. Yeah, basically, alhamdulillah, the same thing that I shared with you just now, where Ahmad is actually maf'ul, an object, the first object, maf'ul bihi awal, and the ball is actually maf'ul bihi thani, the second object. And of course, I is the subject and gave is the verb, right? So I gave Ahmad the ball. So Ahmad is the first object, ball is the second object from the Arabic point of view. From English point of view, I do not know what you call it, whether it's first object or second object. Allahu Alam. Now, let's look at the second question, and it said that Surah Muluk wa laqad zayyana as-samaa ad-dunya bi masabih wa ja'alnahu rujuman lisyayatin wa a'tadna lahum 'adhab as-sa'ir. We have adorned the lowest heaven with lamps and made them missiles for stoning devils, for whom we have also prepared the torment of a blazing fire. Are the lamps referring to the stars? If so, is their main function serves to attack the devils? Now, exactly, right? Masabih. Allah SWT used the word masabih in Surah Fussilat also, right? Masabih, Allah SWT used in Surah Fussilat, and it means stars. There's no doubt about it. Every scholar, right? There's a consensus for all scholars that masabih here, which is what they call it as lamps, it is, of course, is a metaphor for stars, right? Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ, we use the stars to stone the devils. Now how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the stars to stone the devils, we do not know. We actually do not know, right? That is beyond our knowledge. Why? Because the devils, they are metaphysical beings, whereas stars, they are physical creatures. So how Allah SWT used the physical creatures to torment, to kill, to burn the metaphysical creatures, we do not know, right? We can understand if it's physical and physical. But when it comes to metaphysical, of course, it's beyond us, right? And when it comes to metaphysical and physical things, interaction between them, that is also beyond us unless Allah inform us. For example, our interaction with the jinn or the shaitan that accompanies us, our personal shaitan, which is called qarin, day and night, this personal shaitan is with us, right? Wherever we go, right, this personal shaitan is with us, always telling us to do bad things. Now, how this personal shaitan influence us, whisper in us, right, in our brain, suddenly we have that idea, we do not know. But it happens, right? But what is the mechanism? We do not know, because it's beyond experiment, it's beyond discovery, physical discovery. So we just say, Wallahu alam, and Allah knows better. Not everything that Allah describes in the Quran can be explained and can be understood. Some physical things we can even understand right now. It might need further knowledge in the future to really understand it. But when it comes to physical, metaphysical things, spiritual beings, forever and ever, we can never discover it and understand it unless what Allah informs us, because we cannot use physical experiments, tools, methodologies to uncover them or discover them. Okay, so let us stop there. Now, this is another message, another direct message. Did Maurice Bushel explain why he believes why 7 denotes plentiful, why number 7 chosen to denote this meaning? No, he did not explain that. For him, just said 7 is a lot. Because his logic is that it's impossible to have just 7 planets in this universe. There must be much more, many more planets in this universe than the 7 planets that circling us. Even the planets that circling us, there are more than 7. There are 9 actually. According to in this time, Pluto is part of that solar system planet. So he did not explain. Dawood Salman studied 7 denotes the 7 planets made before or after Pluto was re-identified as a dwarf planet. It was in the early 2000, before the what they call it, they have this seminar or meeting between all the astronomers, the international astronomers, and they have agreed that to reclassify Pluto as a dwarf planet, but that was in late 2000, right? Late 2000. So Dawood Salman's book was written way before that. So he did not include Pluto. Conveniently, he dropped Pluto. I do not know why, to fit in number 7. He might have another reason, but we do not know why he dropped Pluto. Wallahu alam. Okay, so thank you very much. These are the questions and I've answered them. Inshallah, we'll cover on the letter Fa next week, and we're going to proceed on a discussion on what do you call it? The creation of the original creation of the heavens itself. All right, let us end with Tasbih Kafara and Suratul Asr. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Al-asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.